Shalom. I just want to throw a question out there to everybody who's listening. Have you noticed that in our lifetime, within the last few generations, not just with us here in this country, but globally, how there's been so many, all of these natural disasters, all of this sickness, death, plagues of disease, things like COVID, SARS, H1N1, the bubonic plague, the Spanish flu, swine flu. Well, I'll just throw this one out there. The Black Death. Catastrophe, one right after the other. And people want to sit here and blame, saying, oh, it's medical, a sick bird or sick animal caused the spread of this disease. Or you have parents that have infants that are born with physical deformities. They have children that are born that have all types of behavioral issues, etc. And it keeps getting worse. And you wonder why. Why? Why is all this happening? I'll tell you why it's happening. It's happening because of disobedience against Yahweh. That is it, plain and simple. See, Yahweh is a long-suffering God. He's patient, but his patience is running thin. It's going to be one illness, one sickness, one right after the other, to pay people back for disobedience. Not just with us, but with our parents' generations and their parents' generations and so forth and so on. It's essentially a generational curse that we are all under. And there was ways to get around that. It's all written in the Bible, how to get rid of generational curses. But people say that, they want to cower in fear. And we have people that are saying, oh, the next one's going to be even deadlier. Well, it makes you curious how they even know that that's going to be the case. How do they know the next one's going to be even deadlier or more lethal? But I'm not here to stoke conspiracy theories. Anyone with a brain in their head would actually, they would actually understand and know this. But all of this could have been prevented. All the pain and the suffering, it could have all been prevented if you just hadn't turned your back on your Creator, on the God of Israel. He's the God of Israel. He's not an American God. He's not a God created by Western nations. He's not an Indian God, a Japanese God, a Chinese God. He's none of it. He's not a God from the Vikings or the Norwegians. He's none of that. All this has to do because of people's disobedience. See, when you start having sickness and disease that runs rife, and then you get locked down in your homes and putting masks and things over your face. You don't know when it's going to end. You don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next. And yet you're relying and hoping on people with all of their innovative ideas to help make you well, to protect you, to save you, when all you have to do is be faithful and turn yourself over to your Creator. But people are so stubborn. And they say, well, I don't believe in your God. Well, continue to suffer. Continue for all of these plagues and diseases to come right on top of your doorstep, one right after the other, back to back to back, without stop, without pause. See, there are plagues and diseases that are going to be coming. That's talked about in the book of Revelation. It's prophesied to happen. And it will come and befall those who will sit there and curse Yahweh, who will not repent and confess their sins and ask for forgiveness. Their hearts will be hardened. And it will get worse and worse and worse. The pain will become so unbearable, and the miseries, people will become so misery-stricken, and they still will not relent. This is out of the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28. Deuteronomy 28 is broken up into two sections. It's broken up into blessings and then the consequences for disobedience. Funny, Deuteronomy 28 goes for 68 verses. But the part of blessings that you get for obeying only goes to 14 verses. Verse 15 through 68 are all about the curses and the punishments, the consequences of disobedience. I'll read part of it to you. This is starting in verse 58. And this has, when people sit here and say that the law no longer applies to them, the laws of Moses no longer apply, the statutes and ordinances, those are all commandments. Moses was essentially Yahweh's scribe when all this was being recorded. But if you are not careful to observe all the words of this law which are written in this book, to fear this honored and awesome name, Yahweh, your Elohim, then Yahweh will bring extraordinary plagues on you and your descendants, even severe and lasting plagues, and miserable and chronic sicknesses. He will bring back on you all the diseases of Egypt, of which you were afraid, and they will cling to you. Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, Yahweh will bring on you until you are all destroyed. That's something that if I were you, I would take under consideration. See, people out there, they can continue with their disobedience all they want to. You can sit and listen to the lies of men, people that have the spirit of Antichrist in them. their whole purpose is to pull you away, to make you fall away from the true faith, to make you an apostate. Yes, we are saved by grace, the ones that truly believe. But there's more to it than just being saved by grace. Because then you have to start doing your works. And you don't do it because you can earn your way into heaven through works. That's never going to happen. You do it because you love your Creator. You love your Messiah. It's done out of love. The greatest commandment is you shall love Yahweh with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. That is the greatest commandment. You shall love Yahweh, your Elohim, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And love is doing what He has told you to do. It goes way beyond the 10 Commandments. One of the commandments that's written in the Torah is to read these statutes, these ordinances, these commandments, learn them and adhere to them. You won't always get everything 100% perfect, because the only one that was able to keep them perfectly was Yeshua. But you do it out of love. But if you want to sit and continue to be resentful and think that no one can be the boss of you, go ahead and continue and think that way, because you are a mouse fighting a gorilla. You're up against a force that you can't even begin to comprehend. You're going up against the God of the entire universe that created everything. And you think that your disobedience, I don't even know what the word is I'm trying to say at this point, that you living your life the way you want to, yeah, sure, you can. It's free will. But the next time some little nasty virus grabs a hold of you and makes you wish and pray for death, you might want to consider the words that I'm speaking here and now. Because it is written, fear Elohim and keep His commandments. Do not be afraid of him who can kill the body, but fear Him who can kill the body and the soul in hell. So with that, everybody, they're saying the next one's going to be even deadlier. It's time for you to pick a side. And when you pick, you better commit to it fully. No half measures. You're either hot or cold. Lukewarm isn't going to get you there. It's even written, I would rather you be hot or cold, but because you're lukewarm, I will spit you out of my mouth. So if I were some of you, I'd pray, confess, ask for forgiveness, repent, and then I would start learning His ways, not yours. I'd start with the book of Genesis and work all the way through the book of Deuteronomy. just for starters. Learn it and live by it. Because if you don't know what the next bug that's going to take you out. We're all eventually going to die. But how we die and how we check out, what happens after we die and this world passes away from us, where we go and what happens to us when that time comes is solely based on the individual. Nobody can save you except yourself. So with that, shalom.